Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hopefully the sound of the fan behind me is not too obnoxious and distracting, but it's kind of hot, so I kind of need it. It's better than the air conditioner, which would be way louder. Oh, and sorry, I have really gross fingernail polish that I haven't finished taking off yet. Sorry. It's just been chipping away for a week. All right, so today I'm working on chapter 22, page 6, and this is of Age of Night, my webcomic, updating every week at ageofnight.com. This page is still a good, probably about 2 months out at this point. So you'll be getting a little sneak peek in addition to getting to watch me work on it. So I've already got my panels laid out here in their little boxes. I have my perspective grids laid out. This one has a story involved. It was a real pain in the butt. Yep, one great big panel down there. We'll see how that goes. And off to the side, I have my script and I have my thumbnails so that I know what I'm supposed to be drawing. So this first panel right here, man, that was not fun. Perspective grid there was not a good time. Whoops, sorry, camera. I didn't mean to bump into you. Perspective grid there was not a good time. I needed such a shallow perspective, like with it, the angle at the very top of it is, you can see, still pretty shallow compared to the square of the frame. So I actually had to do mathematical perspective on this one, where you measure, for example, every half inch down one side, and then every, what's an eighth bigger than a half, 5/8 inch on the other side. I think I actually ended up doing like, 9/16 or something because I wanted such a shallow angle. So that's another way that you can do it, to do perspective, mathematical grid. But anyway, now I can get started actually putting things in it. This is still the, in the last scene that I was drawing in the last couple of these sessions, where this is still kind of underground, where Kamaria is trying to escape, trying to find her way out of the sewers. Where this is actually the scene where this is actually the page where she gets to finally come out onto the street. So that's what I've got going on here, is this is the stairway leading out. Okay, so when you're doing stairs, what you need to do to keep them going the right way, so this is the direction that the stairs are going to be going in. They're following this grid, finishing toward this point over here. And what you need to do is have two sets of lines as parallel as you can get them. For the rise of the stairway. So this is kind of the angle that I want, that I put the banister in at. Because then you do one and then another one. And so that right there is the rise between each of the stairs. That's how high each particular individual step is going to be. So if our top step is right here, then you draw your line down, and following the perspective grid, since we're actually below the we're way above the horizon line here. So this is actually going to be going down. So the next step goes to that point here. And then you go down until you hit that line. And now this goes back up a little bit because, again, this is following this set of lines, the tops of those stairs. And it's a little bit tedious, but it will give you a really nice, realistic looking stairway when you're done. And it's real easy to get confused while you're doing this, so just go slow and keep an eye on your perspective grid. You'll be fine. That's a little bit more, should be a little bit more extreme than what I'm drawing it as. There we go. And so every so often I'm just going back here and kind of erasing some of this underdrawing so that I'm not super confused when I go back later to finish this up and ink it. Like, what are all these extra little lines back here? I don't need those. So good guidelines. Should probably not be drawing them quite as heavy-handedly as I am right now, but I'm doing so partially for the purposes of demonstration so that you can see them on camera. Down, and see, remember we're following these lines, the pink lines going in this direction for the top of that stair. And then these lines for the long edge. But you're not going to see all of that. You're just going to see, because these stairs are solid. If they were like glass or something, you would see them. That'd be kind of cool. Glass staircase. Down, up, and over. So if you stop in and are watching me, feel free to comment and say hi. I will glance up at the screen on occasion and see if anyone's watching. Always enjoy chatting with people when you get a chance to stop by. Also, I have a poll going right now on both the Age of Night Facebook page and also on my Patreon page to see if Friday afternoons work for people. I know Friday afternoons are kind of hard, and they're not actually going to work for me for too much longer either. Once both my kids are in school back in the fall, our schedule is going to change, and Friday afternoon's not really going to be ideal. So I'd like to do this at times when people are free to actually watch it and comment. So if you have anything to say about that, you can always just comment on the polls or, tweet at me or whatever else. Whatever you feel you need to do. Okay, so I've reached the edge of the page here, and I could continue to keep with a piece of scrap paper or whatever, drawing this off to the side. And I mean, technically that would be the correct thing to do, but at this point, I'm basically just going to keep following those lines and kind of fudge it from here, because I don't feel the need to drive myself completely insane. I like to save the driving myself insane step for when I'm inking, so. But now here's my horizon line. So now these are going to be going this way, and we're going to start seeing the tops of these stairs. So this, I'll usually, if it's somewhere where I might get confused, I'll mark this a little bit to show myself that this is the top. And this is the side. And that's a top. And that's a side. Just a little visual shorthand so that I don't get too muddled when I'm doing this later. I'm going to kind of erase that horizon line a little bit. I can still see it, but it's not quite as bold, so hopefully it won't be as distracting. I can kind of erase this guideline here too. That I just need to change because it's goofy looking. All right, so that's stairs. That's stairs in perspective. And while it is kind of tedious, it does actually look like a stairway. It makes some sort of actual sense in space at this point, and that was the goal. So I'm gonna noodle with this a little bit more because I don't really like how that came out. I don't like what's going on up here. I'll make that the top of the arch. All right, so that's, whoops, sorry, I was out of frame. My apologies. That's that, and now we can also see that outside, that this is an outside, and that there's something going on. Like you'll be seeing light coming in from here and other buildings. Kind of wanted just a little pillar up here. There we go. Okay. So I should see the under, like the eave there, underside of the overhang of that building. All right, so I put in a lot more work on this first panel than I normally do at this stage, but really wanted to make sure that this all made sense before I put my figure in, because the thing is that if you put your figure in first, like it's okay to put a figure in as like a guideline to build this around. That's not a bad idea, but if the figure's placement is really crucial and you have somewhere you really want to put it. But the problem is that if you draw the entire figure and have it finished and then you try to do the staircase around it, it's gonna not come out right. You're almost certainly gonna end up having done it wrong. It's like the same thing as when you put a figure in a chair. You should always, get a basic idea of where you want them if you need to sketch the figure in a little bit to do that, but don't actually draw the whole figure until you draw the chair. And then you draw the figure in there to fill the space so that it's convincing, so you don't end up with a weird like melty chair to fit them. Because it's just the thing is that like right here, she's stepping up from this step to this step. I need to have her feet at a point where that makes sense, where that visually makes sense. Okay. I'm gonna quite have her hand actually on the rail. I like she's just kind of reaching in that general direction to steady herself. All right. So I wanted her shadow kind of coming down. So there's kind of a note of where that's going to be. All right, so that first panel is roughed in. We'll definitely need some refinement, but we've got a pretty good start on it. Now this panel over here, where another perspective grid. So many perspective grids on this page. Kind of looking down. Got like looking down on the street. Got like the edge of a roof here or something. We're gonna say that's the edge of a roof. Here's some roof tiles. There you go. I'm actually gonna scoot this a little bit. Looking at my thumbnail, I don't really, for what else I need to do on this page, I don't like it where it is. Scoot it down a little. That may yet move again. I may not be committed to where I put that. Actually, I want to keep that elbow kind of tucked in close. She's very nervous, so she's got her elbows tucked in close, kind of in a defensive posture. And yep. That building's gonna move again. That's okay. We're still just figuring this page out. Whoops. I made my camera jump. Sorry about that. Shook the table so hard my camera jumped. Because I really want her to just kind of be just poking out from around the edge here. She's just come out of this alleyway. It's looking around. Seemed like kind of a quiet and not terribly well used type space. Trying to figure out how tall this door needs to be. Because it needs to be at least tall enough that Kamaria could pass through it, follow the grid down this way, Follow the grid back this way. Yep, it's a little bit shrimpy. Kimahri is pretty short, so make the door a little bit taller. And just a hair wider. All right. So there's Kimahri sneaking around. She's finally up on the surface. And then let's see. This next one, she's got a couple of speech balloons. So let's see what she's saying. Go checking my script to make sure I know how big those need to be. And again, this is one of those things, like just looking at these 4 panels and how they flow together. Of figure is right here. Everything in this panel is pointing you up and then over. So hopefully your eyes start. The idea is anyway. I'm not going to promise this is how it works, but the idea that I'm going for here is you start here with this figure. Your eyes lit up and then over. The roof line's pointing you over. All the stairs are pointing you over. Come over here, there's the figure again. But now this grid is primarily pointing you down. The roof line's pointing you back down into this panel. You have a speech balloon here, another speech balloon here, so you're following that motion. And then your next speech balloon is right here in this 4th panel. So that's the idea, is that even though a lot of times when you have these stacked grids, it's easy to lose a reader. It's easy for them to lose the flow. So it's really important that you try to design these elements to guide your reader through. So if they start here where they see a person, even if it's not her face, a face works even better, of course, but where they see high contrast because we'll have the shadow and her form, and then these elements pushing them over, and these elements pushing them back down, and then diagonally back through here, so that then they'll be able to come down to this without just jumping straight from this panel to this panel. It's very easy to, when you have a tall panel like this and a stack next to it, it's really easy to lose your viewer's eye and have them go straight down to the bottom here, which is not what we want because things are happening over here. We want them to read the whole page. Otherwise, why am I putting stuff there? Why would I put stuff over there if I don't want people to look at it? Just seems silly. All right, there's that. That one's a pretty simple panel. As they sometimes need to be. Because this next panel is going to be a crazy enormous one, which we'll see how far I get with even knocking this in during this hour. We're already 25 minutes in because this staircase took me forever. But yeah, this is a great big scene. I haven't done one of these great big scenes with lots of people in it, like a big set piece scene like this, in quite a while. I have a pretty detailed thumbnail, so hopefully that'll help guide me and I won't completely lose my mind. As with anything, you just got to take it in little chunks, break it down into bite-sized pieces. So I know that I want Kamaria to be, you know what, not even quite there. I want her scooted over ever so slightly. I don't even like her right there. So I want her little tiny figure. This is going to be a great big open scene with a lot of different elements. I want her figure to be right here. I feel like that's a good place for her. And I want her framed by the corner of these two buildings. So there's a little bit of visual rest around her so you can see her well enough. So here's another building that's going to go this way. And it's going to end trying to avoid making tangents with this panel up above. It's going to end, there's going to be a little alleyway. There's going to be another building. I'm just setting down these big, simple blocks. And attached to these buildings are going to be like a row of stalls, different merchant stalls. So that's going to be right there. Got like a little awning over top. And then there's another row of them over here in front of this building. Follow that perspective grid back. And having her figure there too allows me to keep a sense of scale around a lot of this too. So that will go like this. Oops. And that goes back here, trying to hang on to our perspective grid there. There's those stalls. And all of this is going to get broken down into much more detail on the next pass. I'm really just trying to block in the basic shapes of where everything is going to take up space. Not really kill myself with too much detail right now. Right now, I just want the shapes. Just want to know where things are going to go. So that I don't get all crazy overwhelmed. Match that line. All right. Just a couple of booths. There's going to be some more booths over here. This is like an open air market area, so there's a bunch of different booths. So I want this one to come pretty close to the edge here. Follow that line. I do want to leave just a little bit of space around her so that there's that kind of, so you can see her. I don't want her to get lost in everything that's going on here. So here's another line of booths. So you're not really going to see that. I'm getting a little squashy on my perspective grid there. Let's hoist those back up a little. All right. Here's the back of those ones. Let's see this. This is going to be done a little bit differently. And these are more of like this kind of swooping style of canopy. All right, so it's kind of like my back. So now I'm going to build up the next layer here. So what do I have? All right. So now I'm going to put in another cart here. It's kind of like a freestanding cart. My goodness, my cat just jumped down off the counter. And it sounded like somebody dropping a whole sack of potatoes. He's so graceful. All right, this is actually too close for what I want visually, because obviously you can see that there would be in real life a good amount of space between this cart and this, but it's going to get too cramped visually if I put the top on it that I want. It's going to be touching that space where Kamari is, and I don't want that. Because remember, I want to give her some space, so I'm going to scoot this down. So what I should have done the first time, and what I'm going to do now, is to figure out where I want that top for this little cart. I want it here, so that she still has that nice little bit of space around her. And I'm going to start with the little top on the cart. So there we go. So that ended up moving the cart down quite a bit, actually. Draw the other side of this so that I know where that back corner is supposed to be. Give it its little wheels. There we go. All right, what else did I want? Okay, I've got another cart over here. And this one's kind of going to be at a weird angle, not really the same angle as this other one. Just so that everything isn't going exactly in the same direction here, because that gets boring. All right. So there's this one. Yeah. Gonna do that. Show a couple of good-sized carts here. Again, I can add more detail to them later. I just want to kind of get them on here. That was a fat wheel. That's too fat. That wheel is too fat to work. All right, and then down in this corner, down in front here, I want to have a big pen. Oh, why is my phone ringing? Stop it. Go away. It is the darn Red Cross. It's very important to donate blood if you possibly can. It's a really good thing to do. But I will warn you, the Red Cross will never stop calling you. They will call you day and night forever. All right, so I've got a little pen down here because this is where I'm going to put some animals. But I'm not going to put the actual animals in there yet. I got to get some peoples in here. So over here, we're going to kind of have the auctioneer stand. You're not going to see all of this because this inset panel is going to block it, but I'm going to kind of just hammer some more of this in here to fill in this space. I mean, a lot of this too is bleed, so it's going to get trimmed, but I like to get it as close to the edge as I can so that I know where everything's supposed to be. And we'll make another little little sort of basin on the card. Right over here. All right. So now I have the basic features that are going to fill up this space. So now what I need to do is, before I try to fill it with all the people, I need to give myself a couple of guideline people, because the people back here are going to be smaller than the people up here. And I need to make sure that they remain consistently the right, more or less the right size throughout here. So now remember, Kamaria is pretty short. She's maybe like 5'1". So back here is Kamaria. So for my average person, who's going to be around 5'8", I'm going to make a little bit taller guideline. And now this taller guideline, what you do is you follow this perspective grid. So this taller guideline is right on this pink line here. So this person, this person over here, it helps if you use an actual like ruler or something. Following that grid, over here, this person would be this tall. But then they're going to have to come out a little bit, try to follow this grid. So standing in front of this stall here, this person would be, my guideline person would be this tall. So now I can put my guideline person in here, standing at this stall. Perhaps they're talking with whoever owns this stall. And let's see. So the same guideline person, if we continue this way, where the top of his head is now on this red line, and then the bottom of his feet following this over here. So over here, he's going to be this tall. We're going to move him down a little ways. Down over here, he's going to be from here to here. He's going to be this tall. So now let's see, if we move this guideline person down here, trying to keep with our grid. So let's say they're over here. So here, to here, and then they're going to bring them out this way a little bit. So right here, they're this tall. This guideline person is walking somewhere. Sure, why not? Walking somewhere, carrying something. No reason to keep my guidelines that boring. All right, I need somebody kind of up in this area. So this guideline person, if they continue to go this way until their feet are right here and their head is right here. So this is one of those things, by the way, that is a million times easier to do if you use a computer. If you insist on being a Luddite like me, then this is the way you've got to do it. However, you would still need to be using your grid, however you made it, on the computer to make sure you're scaling these people correctly. that would still be the important takeaway here. And this one's talking about something. All right, so the top of their head is this pink line here. Bottom of their feet goes down here. To here. To there, and I want them right up against the fence. Where would they go? They would go here to here. All right, so now I've got some good variation in depth here. And that there's someone all the way back here, a couple of people on this level, one person on this level, one person on this level. I'm going to do one more kind of up in this corner, and then I'll be able to just start filling in using those people as a guideline. Some people will be taller, some people will be shorter, but this gives me a good average all the way around. So their feet are right here, and the top of their head is right here. And we go back this way. So they are in the other corner of that block. Go back this way so they are standing right over next to the auctioneer's block. And let's put them right here. All right. So I've got all sorts of little guideline people populating this marketplace scene. I think I'm going to sharpen my pencil. I'm getting kind of dull. So let's see. Oh, we've been at this for almost 45 minutes already. So we've got about 15 minutes left. Let's see how many more people and things I can jam on in this scene. Although also I will now, before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to put in these two word balloons so that I don't make myself crazy trying to draw anything underneath where those are going to be. I mean, yeah, some parts of things will still end up in that space, but I'm not going to try to do anything too fancy right here because it's going to get covered with a word balloon. So I can just knock this panel in real quick. So it's just another little close-up panel. All right. And there's that. Okay. So let's start trying to fill in some of this space. And again, this isn't going to be super detailed because I am still going to be refining all of this. A little later. But I can start populating all of this area so that I know where things are going to go later. Just kind of filling this space up with different figures. This needs to be a very busy kind of space. We have lots of people. Most of these are as of right now, we're just going to be very simple kind of gesture drawings because, as you can see, a lot of it is going to get blocked out by other features. I want to know where everything is and have everybody fill the space in a convincing way, but I'm not going to go too crazy trying to hammer any of that out until it's all mapped out, and then I'll basically start from the front and work my way back to refine. But when I'm filling the space, I actually like to work from the back and go forward to make sure I've filled it as much as possible. Like filling a moving truck. Just fill in all these little people everywhere. So yeah, last weekend I had Down East Fantasy Con in Bangor, Maine. That was a lot of fun. I don't have another convention until September when I have GTEX, Game Theory Exchange, out in Houston, which should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. And then it's like the weekend after GTEx, I have Granite State Comic Con. It's just one thing after another. All right, you can see I'm starting to get this middle here filled in pretty well. So get all the little people filled in. So many little people. Getting a few of these people around this pen here. I think it's going to be filled with either pigs or sheep. I haven't decided which. One or the other. All right, these little clumps of people all filled in here. We've got just a couple minutes left for me to work on this before the stream is over. But you can see the basic technique here. If I figure out where the outer perimeter is, fill in some major architectural features or landmarks in this figure out, put in a couple of guideline people so that I can keep my figures nice and consistently sized across the perspective, and then just kind of start filling in and try to keep, if there's some interesting interactions, try not to cover them up too much while still filling in the space as much as possible to make it look really crowded. So hopefully that all worked. And I guess next week when I do my inking stream again, you can be the judge. You can tell me if it worked or not. Because I should have it all drawn then, and then you can tell me if it worked out. It's supposed to be like a kid or something, somebody a little bit shorter. All right, let's see. It is 2:28, so I've only got a couple minutes left. And I'll just remind you that if you enjoyed watching me work and want to be able to hang out for more streams, that you can like this page, like this YouTube channel, and hit the notification bell thing. So you subscribe, hit the bell. That way, next time I go live, you'll get a notification right on your phone or desktop or wherever else. You can like my Facebook page for Age of Night as well. And Age of Night updates every week. ageofnight.com. Every Wednesday night / Thursday morning, I put up a new comic page. So, always getting new stuff. I also have a Patreon, which sometimes gets not these live streams, but other art process videos. I get those a little bit ahead of everybody else, which is pretty cool. And that's patreon.com/ageofnight. So lots of different ways to keep up with what I'm doing and help support me, or just, tell your friends. You can buy my comics, support me on Patreon, watch me draw online, keep me company. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week, everybody. I've got all my panels at least started. I've got roughed in panels for 1, 2, 3, 4 panels are roughed in and pretty much ready to go. This last giant bear of a panel is still going to take a little bit of work, but I got this side pretty much all roughed in. Gonna still have to rough in some figures over here, put in my animals, and then I'll be able to start refining this. So considering what a bear this panel is, I'd say we've made some pretty good progress. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with me. I always appreciate your comments and everything else, and I'll see you all next week.